Patsy, Patsy, get up. Something really bad has happened. It's JonBenet. There's been an accident, and Burke killed her.
Oh my God!
Unsolved.
Patsy did not bolt up the spiral stairs. John did not read the note in his underwear. Patsy did not wear yesterday's clothes. John and Patsy were not waiting for a ransom call. Patsy called her friends for a reason. John did not discover JonBenet in the wine cellar. Now, I don't know if you believe Patsy, Burke, or John killed JonBenet, but this video is about John and Patsy covering up the crime, whoever killed JonBenet. Patsy went downstairs to the basement and found JonBenet strangled with a cord around her neck. And Patsy screamed and went hysterical. And John described what he thought happened to JonBenet, that Burke was playing with his pocket knife and cutting the string and tied JonBenet up and accidentally strangled her. There's nothing that we can do. Can't call an ambulance now. She's gone. We are going to have to call the police. We cannot tell them what happened because they will take Burke away from us. We need to hide JonBenet somewhere and pretend that JonBenet ran away or something, like she was kidnapped or something. We can call 911 in the morning and say JonBenet is missing, but the police will look for her. We can write a note. You can tell them that you found a ransom note. We got to write it real well. Someone saw JonBenet in the pageants and broke into our house and kidnapped her. How would they know where she lived? No, it has to be something to do with access. This guy is mad at me. He knew where we lived for my business or something. He has been here before. He's jealous and angry with me. At this point, Patsy writes the ransom note with John's help. Patsy tells John the guy might be from another country. He's part of a foreign faction, some terrorist group, like the SLA or something. And John says the ransom amount should be $118,000, written businesslike with .00. Put in there, do not notify the police or FBI. Listen, Patsy, we're going to jail if we don't get this straight. You see, Patsy and John were not seeing this crime eye to eye. Patsy's plan was she woke up and found JonBenet missing. JonBenet was murdered by a sexual predator. He entered through the basement. He took JonBenet to the basement and he assaulted and tortured her. And the police wouldn't believe that Patsy or John would do anything like this. John was planning a much more detailed cover-up. His plan was to make it look like a kidnapping. Make a garrote, tie her wrists, place duct tape on her mouth, remove JonBenet's body from the house in a suitcase, dispose of the suitcase in a dumpster, and then go obtain the cash from the bank. Then they'd call 911 and report that the exchange went bad and the kidnappers got the money and they didn't get JonBenet back. John Ramsey insisted that Patsy call 911 because she was the better actor. He told her, just tell them that you found a ransom note, hurry and get here, and don't give them much information. End the call quickly. And after that, we'll call the Fernies and the Whites and have them come over so we don't have to talk directly with the police. And John Fernie will come to the back door and we'll put the ransom note there so he sees it. And we'll have the door locked so he'll have to come around to the front. And Shirley Fleet will walk around and mess up the crime scene. And so John and Patsy's plan began. Patsy acted like JonBenet was missing and screamed for John. Then she went into Burke's room and looked for JonBenet, and then left and went and talked to John. And then Patsy went to make the 911 call. However, Burke got out of bed and he said at the end of the call, "What did you find?" And John acted angry with Burke and he said, "We're not talking to you." Then John directed Burke to stay in bed. If anyone asks, you were fast asleep. You don't remember anything from last night. You never got out of bed. This is really important, Burke. Now later, as John and Patsy learned more about what the police knew, they maintained that JonBenet fell asleep in the car and never woke up. That way they had their story straight and didn't have to remember anything. And they also told Burke not to discuss the pineapple in the bowl in the dining room. Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved, and I'll see you next weekend on Friday night with a new episode, and good night.